Texas is a vast and diverse state. We're steeped in a long history of Texans with great courage and grand vision. A strong future for our children and grandchildren relies on that same courage and vision. The most important challenge we face in order to preserve our future is educating the 4.7 million children who attend our public schools each year. Our children deserve the best education we can possibly give them. We must stand up for Texas children, and we must do it now. We have reached a crisis in Texas schools. Our students are expected to learn more at a faster pace, yet student funding is not keeping pace with student needs, inflation pressures, increasing accountability standards, and rising community, state, and global expectations. We cannot have the same expectations for all students and not have equitable funding for them. It is unfair to students, parents, schools, and taxpayers. In addition, while many students arrive each fall semester to newly constructed school buildings equipped with state-of-the-art technology, others sit in outdated classrooms with limited access to computers and science labs. It may come as a surprise, but not all Texas school children are treated equally or fairly. And that's why the Equity Center is here. Founded in January 1982, the Equity Center was the collaboration of leaders from 55 school districts who demanded an end to the gross inequities and inadequacies that had permeated the Texas school finance system since the very beginning. After 30 years of success and growth, the Equity Center is now the largest research and advocacy organization of its kind in the nation, with a membership that includes more than 650 of the state's 1,024 school districts.
Richard had already hired Craig Foster as executive director, and Richard was our first president, and I was in charge of rural affairs. Specifically, what caused us to organize was the fact that we realized we had a lot of poor school districts in the state. It was necessary for us to get the word out to them. Believe it or not, people didn't know the difference between between rich and poor, so to speak. You knew that there were rich districts in West Texas because they had oil, And Craig would make a presentation to try to make people understand how poor they were. And then Richard and I would translate that into superintendent talk. We went all over the state, and so our job then was to make people aware.
We represent districts in each of the 20 Education Service Center regions, including rural, urban, suburban, fast growth, small and mid-sized districts, from Texarkana to El Paso, Amarillo to Harlingen. Over the years, the Equity Center has fought many battles for a more equitable and adequate funding system. We haven't won them all, but those we have are truly significant. The guiding principles of the Equity Center have never changed. We are committed to a state funding system that treats all children and taxpayers fairly.
Texas public schools have never been funded adequately or equitably. And these districts who are on the bottom of the funding chain, they all got together and said, let's form an organization built around the principle of fair treatment for Texas school children and taxpayers. The bottom line is, if it weren't for the Equity Center, this information would not be out there, and the equity level in this state would be a lot less than it is. We have one Texas, and it's a Texas education system. It's not based upon individual little kingdoms around the state. We all put our money in together for the good of all Texas children and for the future of this state.
Our first priority has always been, and must always be, to increase access to financial resources for our member school districts, so they may have the same opportunities for their students that the state already provides to higher funded districts. The Equity Center provides an array of services designed to equip the leaders in our member districts with the tools they need to fight for the school children in their communities. Since its inception, the Equity Center has been directly involved in all Texas school finance litigation, providing critical data, technical assistance, and expert testimony. Equity Center staff give numerous presentations annually at conferences, the legislature, education service centers, and school districts and universities across the state. And we stay on the cutting edge of the latest in Texas school finance data analysis and research. Reports generated by our computer modeling programs are readily available to members, allowing them to access powerful information that will help them communicate their district's financial situation to their parents, taxpayers, and legislative representatives. While advocating on behalf of Equity Center members, we maintain close relationships with legislators and the Capitol community. The Equity Center communicates crucial data and information to its members in a variety of ways. From weekly EC Express articles and monthly in-depth newsletters, to podcasts and videos, to outstanding annual conferences and functions. We provide one-on-one assistance to members, and we're always only a phone call away.
The new tools that the Equity Center has come on board with will impact the Equity Center's mission from the standpoint that we can communicate not only with our superintendents better, but we'll also be able to help them communicate with their community, with their parents, with their school board members, and get the message out about what's going on in the state of Texas.
We all know that our children are the future of this great state. How Texas grows and prospers will depend on them. Let's prepare them now by giving each and every one access to quality educational opportunities.
All of us want to fight for our school districts, and especially for the funding, equity in funding. But one superintendent's voice is very limited. But when it's part of a larger group of 700 superintendents statewide, definitely there is an advantage to that advocacy.
The Equity Center will continue to fight for fair funding for all Texas children. Throughout our history, we've been at the forefront of changes in school funding that have delivered billions of new dollars to Texas schools. But there is still much to be done.
I would encourage Equity Center members and prospective members to realize all the benefits, and if any time that it is critical for you to be a part of this organization is now. And the reason that you might not have the sufficient dollars is because of the unfair and unequitable funding system we currently have.
Only by demanding fair treatment of all Texas public school children and taxpayers will we carry the strong Texas legacy of excellence into tomorrow.